Hello and welcome to Poetry in Style. So today we're gonna talk about another poet from another recommendation from the same viewer. Thank you again for this recommendation. I really appreciate Stephen Crane. I've got here the complete poems of Stephen Crane. As you can see, the book is not very big because actually Stephen Crane unfortunately didn't live for a long time. Stephen Crane was an American poet and he was born on the 1st of November 1871 in New Jersey, USA, and he passed away on the 5th of June 1900 in Germany. Stephen Crane wrote poems, short stories and plays, and he was actually known for very talented and for having a very straightforward style, you know. So here is what's written on the back of the book. This edition contains all poems of Stephen Crane, renowned for his novel The Red Badge of Courage and his short stories. Crane was also an important poet. He established laconic precision as the dominant style of free verse. His followers included such poets as Carl Sandburg, William Carlos Williams, and E. Cummings. That I made a video on the poem I Carry Your Heart With Me of E. Cummings, really great poem. Without any doubt, Crane should be regarded as the father of modern days literary minimalism. Alright, so actually I don't believe that's just the only one who was really minimalistic. I mean, we have different types of poems that we're going to talk about in different videos on minimalism. Like haikus, but obviously those are different subjects. And here is some quote from H.G. Wells, a natural genius, the best writer of our generation. Obviously that's a question of viewpoint. And I've had some poems that I really like from him, and actually there's one poem which is a classic called War is Kind, which is a very interesting title, and we're gonna just read the poem together, which I find is a very, very incredible poem, and then we're gonna analyze what it means. War is kind. Do not weep, maiden, for war is kind. Because your lover threw wild hands toward the sky, and their affrighted steed ran on alone. Do not weep, war is kind. Hoarse, booming drums of the regiment, little souls with thirst for fight. These men were born to drill and die. The unexplained glory flies above them. Great is the battle god, great and his kingdom, a field where 1,000 corpses lie. Do not weep, babe, for war is kind, because your father tumbled in the yellow trenches, rage at his breast gulped and died. Do not weep, war is kind. Swift blazing flag of the regiment, eagle with crest of red and gold, these men were born to drill and die. Point for them the virtue of slaughter, make plain to them the excellence of killing, and a field where 1,000 corpses lie. Mother whose heart hung humble as a button on the bright splendid shroud of your son, do not weep, war is kind. So it's actually very interesting here, because there's at the end of almost every paragraph here, war is kind. So you have like, do not weep, war is kind, and it's funny because at the same time you have these very, very heavy pictures of war and these things that showing you that war is not kind, but actually horrible and awful. Do not weep, maiden, for war is kind, because your lover threw wild hands toward the sky, and the affrighted steed ran on alone. Do not weep, war is kind. Affrighted here is actually a word that we don't use that often, means being afraid, full of fright. And here you have this picture of your lover throwing his wild hand towards the sky. This actually showing a movement, and it's actually an uncontrolled movement, because actually it still goes on alone, and it falls from the horse, and he's actually died. So basically, it's not a very nice picture. It's not very cool. And here we have these men were born to drill and die. They were born to drill and die. You know, the unexplained glory flies above them. Great is the battle god. Great and his kingdom a field where 1,000 corpses lie. You know, it's actually funny because those are like the justification of war. And the interesting thing is that a lot of kings and queens and emperor and empresses were sending men to war, and when often giving them like justification as to why they had to go to war. And here you have the great is the battle god, great and his kingdom and the kingdom. You fight for a kingdom, you fight for the empire, so it's a noble cause. But when you look at it, everybody fights for his kingdom. So which one is the noble cause and which one is the non-noble cause? Obviously none of them. War is war, war is bad no matter where you're fighting, you know. And again, he says there again a little bit further, these men were born to drill and die. Point for them the virtue of slaughter. Slaughter is a very strong word, you know, slaughter. Make plain to them the excellence of killing, and a field where 1,000 corpses lie. Again, the same thing, 1,000 corpses lie. You've got here, do not weep, babe, for war is kind, because your father tumbled in the yellow trenches, rage at his breast, gulped and died. Do not weep, war is kind. So basically, all these pictures, what I find really fascinating is that they are very, very strong and clear pictures, and you have the images directly in your head of all these corpses of these people bleeding on the floor, of these people fighting, on these people screaming, dying. And at the same time, at the end, he said, do not weep, war is kind, war is a good thing. And it's actually this dichotomy of what is true and what is wrong, and this kind of it's actually sarcastic. It's sarcastic because war is obviously not kind, and it's actually a very, very efficient way of showing the reality of war, not just by saying, you know, war is awful, war blah blah blah, and then you obviously show that war is awful. Here he makes this funny comment to poke fun at the idea of war. And that's why I found that really interesting and very more efficient than most poems on the same subject, you know. So yeah, and also again, I really like the style. It's a free verse, so it was also known for its free verse, and for me it's a mix between sophistication and simplicity, which is what I'm actually really looking for in poems. So this is really a poem that I really, really like, and I want to know, what do you think of that poem, and what do you think of war? I mean, that sounds like a weird question. I love war! War is great! You know, let's send people to die. No, obviously war is never a good thing, but what's your viewpoint on what I say? What's your viewpoint on that, you know? Obviously now we have wars everywhere, and we keep having war, and it's in the whole history of humanity. And what I have to say is that obviously we tend to pick side, which is normal, because there's often this idea that one is bad and one is good. But the thing is, people fighting in the ground, people dying, no matter what war, no matter what time of history. And on both sides, actually, most people are actually good people. And the people dying, and the people going there, and the people being used, you know, to just fight against the enemies, which are not the enemies, they are often just victims themselves, no matter what the camp is. So that's the reason why I also think, you know, if you have a problem with war, just speak out against war. Don't speak out against one camp or another. Obviously, obviously history will say that some are worse than others, but you know, the problem is just war in general. And yeah, that's it. That might be a little bit naive what I'm saying, but I'm seeing a lot of news on different things going on in the world, and people are picking side, and they are seeing things in black and white, and it's not very black and white. It's actually it's black and white because you have like the people above actually controlling the war and stirring some shit up. They are the one with whom you should have a problem, not the other one fighting, because they just don't know any better. Anyway, that's just my controversial opinion at the end of this video, and but I think it's a great poem, and I hope you have a good day.